خاي قرا روجورا بدرين شلاما الكلوخن اتلانتينتت منتا من نوخن المريستت جميتا إقارة يوم تسهدي عطوراي اتلامبريشايت اتلانتت منتا جورتا من رابي ملبانا يعقوب مواز مريستت جميتا وبطلابة وقاتوخن كلوخن منتيتا. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Shlomo or Shlama, my name is Hermiz Shahen, and I am Assyrian, born in Nineveh, the central region of Assyria, or the capital of Assyria, which is called today Iraq. I am very pleased to speak to our Jewish friends in Israel who are gathered to commemorate the Assyrian Martyrs' Day. Your friendship and solidarity are very important to us and much appreciated. I would especially thanks Rabbi Yaakov Mawaz for bringing us together and for organizing this important event. Assyrians consider Jewish as their nephews with a common forefather, Abraham. Abraham, as we know, left the city of Ur in 2000 before Christ. He migrated to the land of Israel and originated the 12 tribes. The 5 million Jewish in Israel and the 3 million Assyrians share a common fate and a common destiny. They are both Semitic. The language of Assyrians and Jewish has a common origin. Assyria was a major power thousands of years ago. In 612 BC, it was invaded and defeated by the Medes and the Persians. Geographically, Assyria was vanquished in the same year that Assyria fell, so did Jerusalem fell. In order to understand biblical prophecy and God's plan for the end of times, one must understand the history of the people of Israel and Assyria. Israel was restored to official statehood in May 1948. Likewise, God has an end of time plan for the Assyrians. God actually calls Assyria the work of my hands. That's in Isaiah from 19 to 25. God's hand has not vanished from God's map. In Isaiah, also in Isaiah, we read in 19 to 24, it says, "In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land." Today, some 3 million Assyrians are living in the Middle East and scattered around the globe. What was said of Israel by God also applies to Assyria. The 7th of August has been designated by the Assyrian Universal Alliance as the Memorial Day for Assyrian martyrs who were slaughtered at the hands of Ottoman army and the Kurds during World War I, and those who were cruelly murdered or massacred by the Iraqi army in August 1933, 1 year after Iraq declared its independence in 1932. This Memorial Day does not only remember the dark time of our nation's history, it speaks also of what is occurring today and calls for a just intervention by all people and nations who value humanity. At the beginning of World War I, like the Armenians and the Greeks, Assyrians become victim of the genocide inflicted by the Ottoman Empire on the Christians in Turkey. The survivors of that genocide fled Turkey, leaving behind their land, their homes, and their belongings. Assyrians in general went to Iran, and in Iran the Assyrians alongside the Russian forces fought on the side of the Allies until October of 1917. Due to Bolshevik revolution in Russia, the Russian forces withdrew from the front and left the Assyrians abandoned. Therefore, the Assyrians fled toward the west to Iraq, where the British forces were stationed. Britain and Russia promised to give the Assyrians a safe independent homeland in the area of northern Iraq if they joined the Allies. Assyrians walked through the mountains, through the valleys, and through rivers. They lost tens of thousands of their population, and when they arrived in Iraq, the British enlisted the Assyrians fighters in their armed forces and used them to stabilize the situation in Iraq after it was liberated from the Ottoman occupation. History reveals that only the Arabs who fought on the side of the Allied forces gained from the victory in the World War I. The British betrayed the Assyrians for their own interest. And in the World War II, Assyrians alongside the British forces fought against the fascism of Germany and its allies. At the end of the war, all the allies but the Assyrians got their share from the victory. Many times the settlement of the Assyrians was debated by the League of Nations, but the special interest of the British prevailed, and the legitimate rights of the Assyrians was denied. If the control of Iraq was given to the Christian Assyrian in the 1930s instead of Arabs, now we didn't have to play around with someone crazy like Saddam or global terrorist actions by Al-Qaeda or ISIS or many others, who knows, will come after. The region would have been more stable, particularly more peaceful to Israel. The time has come for all Western nations, including the British, American, Australian, Israel, and other allied governments, to start setting things right again for the humanity. They have to take responsibility for what they did in the past and present, and work to correct things today for a better future. They have to support the Assyrians and help them get united. We have to help Assyrians to get their rights back. The Arabs, Kurds, and Turks came from other parts of the world and took over Mesopotamia and killed the Christians, the Assyrians, and the Jewish, and pushed them out of Mesopotamia. The Assyrians' rights have to be re-established in Iraq today. They have to have a home and a state like other nations in this world. The creation of an Assyrian homeland will impact the entire Christian population in the Middle East. The creation of a Christian nation state under the name of Assyria, based on the historical fact and all legitimate rights which the nation has earned, is the missing component to ensure that Christians of the Middle East have a home of their own. Rather than having a migration policy for all the Middle Eastern Christians to move to Western countries, the state of Assyria can be a safe haven for all of them. This state of Assyria at the heart of Islamic world will cause the Middle East governments to accept and tolerate other religions and people of all ideologies. Otherwise, the region will always have escalating violence and military intervention. I apologize for making my speech so long, but it was the only way to cover and to bring this very sensitive topic to your attention. Let me be very honest with you and with whoever is listening. The world is lucky to still have Assyrians with their wonderful culture and language. Let us unite our efforts to save this rich culture and heritage from extinction. Let us save their legacy before it all disappears from the surface of the planet. Let us call our governments to act on their behalf. I would like to thank you all for your time and wish you well in your endeavors. God bless you and God bless Assyria and Israel. Shukha ورمرامة الروخة سهدة ات أمتن بريرة هابتن بسيمة تودي